You guys really want to know, and the world wants to know, what is going on with the latest developments involving the late actress Kim Sae Ron and Korean wave superstar actor Kim Soo Hyun. This was a really hard story to put together. I'm going to move through the timelines, present all sides that are publicly available, and you guys decide how you feel about this situation. In any event, it doesn't feel good. Kim Sae Ron, we covered it on this channel, but she decided to part the world on February 16th, which happens to be Kim Soo Hyun's birthday, not even a month ago. Her claim to superstardom as a child actress was her role in Ajashi, or The Man from Nowhere, with Won Bin. And I'm sure other people had a feeling, but I definitely had a feeling, that there was more to her decision than just the online bullying that intensified over her drunk driving incident. That was a huge moment in her life that turned for the worse. It was a very bad turning point. It was very stressful. But I always thought there was a little bit more to the story, but we didn't have the facts. Well, this week, the reason why this story is picking up this week, a representative from her family, they call her an aunt, but it might just be a close friend of the mother. But in any event, she is authorized to speak on behalf of the family, went to the media and released some bombshell evidence and assertions that the crux of this story is her illegal relationship with Kim Soo Hyun. Kim Soo Hyun denies it. We'll go into his full statement. Thank goodness it came out on Friday, Korea time, even though it was expected for next week. He denies dating her as a minor. But the family says they have all the evidence. They've shown all the evidence. We can give more evidence that this was a very long relationship that started when she was just 15 or 16 years old. So it's clear that it was more than online bullying. And we'll go over the debates on whether it was an inappropriate, illegal relationship, whether Kim Soo Hyun's actions, aside from the relationship, including breaking a marriage promise and demanding repayment for the costs incurred because of her drunk driving, contributed to her decision. Right now, Kim Soo Hyun's camp is basically denying that it was an inappropriate relationship and that his actions had no role in her last and final decision. So let's get into the details. This was very hard to piece together because there's a lot of content that has to be sifted through and especially treated with care because it was such a big story. And yes, disclaimer, I really liked Kim Soo Hyun as an actor. Just to give you maybe a little bit of preview of where this is going to go, I have serious doubts now. On the other hand, it is important to present both sides and to not jump too hastily to conclusions. Now, what gave this story a bit of a huge pause is because he is Kim Soo Hyun. He is the highest paid actor in South Korea, and he became a huge global sensation after My Love from the Star with Chun Ji-hyun, and that really cemented his global superstar status. That was over 10 years ago, and his recent fame that you might be familiar with more if you just got into K-dramas is It's Okay Not to Be Okay, and Queen of Tears. So of course the big question is, did he or did he not start dating Kim Sae-ron when she was just 15 or 16 years old in the year 2016? And did his actions contribute to her decision to leave this world? And even worse, did he have a hand in amplifying the online hate to get rid of a career-ending landmine of dating a minor by getting rid of her entirely in the entertainment industry? Kim Soo Hyun's position right now is saying that this is destroying his career based on baseless accusations and all of these unfounded assumptions. But from the side of the family of Kim Sae-ron, they're bringing a lot of receipts and they're saying there's tons more. They have been holding back, but they've been dripping it out daily this week because they do not feel like they got any real apology from Kim Soo Hyun and no acknowledgement even of the relationship. But on Friday, we'll get to it, but here's a preview. On Friday, Kim Soo Hyun did acknowledge a relationship with Kim Sae-ron, but only after she became an adult. But there's some serious credibility questions in their statement that they rushed out because it was supposed to come next week on Kim Soo Hyun's side, but they just couldn't handle this turmoil. Because a year ago, the official statement was that they completely denied that there was ever any relationship or romantic relationship between Kim Soo Hyun and Kim Sae-ron. So they've changed the story. And as this is developing, it is becoming clearer that Kim Sae-ron's sort of cryptic and out of context social media posts start to make more sense. It was a cry for help. It was messages targeted at one person in particular, and now we know that it's Kim Soo Hyun. And so when you use social media, especially as a celebrity like this, and you're trying to call for help, but you're not really communicating to the general public, you run the risk of being labeled sort of crazy, which she was. And then the doubt and the question is whether Kim Soo Hyun helped along that crazy label or not. But in any event, it makes it much clearer. We'll get into her Instagram posts that were essentially calls for help and frustration and lament and heartbreak to Kim Soo Hyun. But the public just thought, oh my goodness, she's just imagining in her head that she's girlfriends with Kim Soo Hyun. What a crazy person. And so now, turns out, true, they had a relationship. Big question still remains. Since when? So where did this information come out? Why does it have some credibility? And why do we still have to be a little bit skeptical? The major source of why this has validity was that the aunt, which may not be the actual real blood relation aunt, but in Korea a lot of times that word auntie, and even in English, probably around the world, close family friend who's a female that is friends with your mother, a lot of times you call them auntie. So, a lot of people are like, Kim Soo Hyun's side in their statement said that, well, she ain't even the real aunt, implying that there's, kind of funny business going on. But the reason why it has legs is that this aunt had the evidence that was essentially from Kim Sae-ron's phone. KakaoTalk messages, text messages, and photos and videos, apparently. We haven't gotten any videos, but there's the threat that they're going to be released. Now, no media wanted to touch this. She said that she went everywhere, and the only place that really said yes was this YouTuber called Garosero Research Institute. Essentially, it is a YouTube channel that focuses mainly on politics, and they are very far right. So people are very divided, and a lot of people hate them. And so he does have an agenda over there. And it's clear that this Kim Soo Hyun story of basically attacking Kim Soo Hyun's story has other connective tissues that help his agenda of attacking the Liberal Party and politicians in South Korea. So that's why you have to be a little bit wary. However, a lot of the times, he is one of the first people to go into a story. Sometimes everything is not accurate. And so he gets a lot of criticism for that. And he definitely gets a lot of criticism for his right-wing ideals. But he does get the facts out from a lot of sources at the time where people weren't going to touch it. Lee Sun-gyun's situation, he was very pivotal in unearthing that. So I want to try to, put a little filter on that and give you the information that he is getting essentially from the family of Kim Sae-ron. And so we'll more focus on the actual evidence that he was able to get, and he was the one that wanted to publish, and he definitely wanted the credit. He's like, all y'all people are, they're doing the, he's basically saying like, I'm the one to, go out to the front lines and, suffer the attacks first. And then you just, take the photos that I got. And then, so he said like, we watermarked that stuff. So yes, give him credit. And he was a former reporter over at NBC. He, I think, does a good job. He does a good job. And, in some ways, I kind of like him, although I don't know, I doubt he'll like me, but I can see what he's trying to do, and I want to just bring out the facts that are mainly coming from the aunt, and then he will throw in a breadbasket of anti-liberal hate in almost anywhere. So I'm just going to try to be, carb free on this. So quick perspective of the timeline, what happened before and after, piecing together essentially why such things would happen. 2022, May 18th was the drunk driving incident. And we never really asked even why she would drink so much. And of course, we can't really get an answer to that. But why would she drink to such oblivion? And we did, in the public, hear people making assumptions like, oh, she's just, partying. But in 2021, she broke up with Kim Soo Hyun. So if we go by the family's evidence that they say they have, this was a long relationship. And it started when she was just a kid in middle school, November 19th, 2015 to July 7th, 2021. With even a promise of marriage that was conveyed to the parents by Kim Sae-ron, and that was not honored. Not even mentioning the aftermath from the drunk driving incident that involved her agency, which was essentially owned by Kim Soo Hyun. That's why there's a connection. That's why there's this request for money repayment that goes to Kim Soo Hyun's company. That's why this is all mixed up. So I understand why she would be drinking a lot. She shouldn't be driving, but I can understand why she'd be drinking a lot in 2022. March 2024 was a pivotal moment that we'll get to. Just keep it in mind. But that's when Kim Soo Hyun's agency, called Gold Medalist, so he's the co-owner with his cousin, but essentially Kim Soo Hyun is the one that calls the shots, sent a certified letter to Kim Sae-ron regarding debt repayment, and it was about repaying the damages paid by Gold Medalist mainly to cover the costs of the accident that she had, and also the penalty fees for having projects and advertisements canceled because people didn't like her image anymore. And that is when she uploaded and then quickly deleted a picture on Instagram with her cheek to cheek with Kim Soo Hyun. That was essentially a cry for help because she had sent a message to Kim Soo Hyun and he ghosted her. And so that's the picture that people are saying, oh, she crazy. She pretending she's like, in a relationship with Kim Soo Hyun. Well, now it's becoming very clear why she did that. January 2025, essentially a month before she decided to end it all, she uploaded some very lamentful pictures, like a couple pictures, and then had the tagline "marry." So this marriage thing, I think, was on her mind. She said that it was just friends, and she's not getting married or anything like that. But I think it really does show kind of her mental state. She's still lamenting the hope and being heartbroken of not being able to be married to Kim Soo Hyun. The guy in the picture looks like Kim Soo Hyun, but we don't know if it's exactly him or not, or if it's a lookalike. The face was blurred. February 2025, she left this world. And then March 2025, the bereaved family wants to restore her legacy as a great actress, have people stop harassing them online and making assumptions, and then also speak out. The mother apparently is very unwell, so she's not speaking out, and she's physically and mentally suffering now. Apparently she's just, even kind of like pacing and, like just still in shock and trauma, of course, because her daughter is now gone. So Garosero Research Institute, the only media company that would take the interview with Kim Sae-ron's family representative, the auntie, released 3 parts. And so, again, the auntie didn't necessarily want to go to Garosero Research Institute, so I don't know what their politics are, but basically I'm saying is like they're not like, they didn't go because of the far rightism. They went because that was the only guy that was going to pick up this story. And he also has a very extensive experience in entertainment scandals. So they released part 1, 2, and 3, and each time they released a part, they released more photos, and with the threat of saying like, Kim Soo Hyun, you have to acknowledge this relationship and you have to apologize and accept responsibility. Well, we're now at part 3, and even with the statement from Kim Soo Hyun on Friday, it looks like we're going to get a part 4 next week. So before we get into the nitty-gritty details of what went on in parts 1, 2, and 3 of the Garosero Research Institute's exclusive interviews and coverage with Kim Sae-ron's family, I wanted to tell you about the 2 announcements that we had this week from the agency representing Kim Soo Hyun, and he owns this agency. And then they released a 3rd statement Friday, local time, March 14th, and we'll get to that after the Garosero Research Institute and also the Dispatch uncovering of what is going on. So right after part 1 was released, Kim Soo Hyun's agency said that all claims made by Garosero Research Institute regarding Kim Soo Hyun are false. They alleged that the company and Kim Soo Hyun, alongside YouTuber Lee Jin-ho, harassed the late actress Kim Sae Ron. Additionally, they claimed that Kim Soo Hyun had been in a romantic relationship with the late Kim Sae Ron since she was 15, that the company mishandled the situation following her DUI incident, and even that one of our managers was personally acquainted with YouTuber Lee Jin-ho. These malicious accusations against the company and Kim Soo Hyun are completely untrue and unacceptable. So they're just saying that, Garosero Research Institute just poured out a bucket of lies. Now, after part 2 that Garosero Research Institute released the day afterwards, the agency again made a statement, and they said that Gold Medalist will reveal its position next week based on clear evidence in order to set the facts straight and respond to groundless rumors. We would like to speak about the content related to Kim Soo Hyun that was recently broadcast by Garosero Research Institute, and they said, we ask for your understanding as we're trying to refrain from continuing to make statements on this. Well, that didn't last long because this just exploded way too big. So they did make a statement that was essentially very detailed but rushed on Friday. So, what is this connection between Kim Sae-ron, Kim Soo Hyun, and this agency gold medalist? Well, Kim Sae-ron was signed to YG Entertainment, but she signed with gold medalist in 2019 because Kim Soo Hyun had set up this new agency called Gold Medalist with his cousin. So on the official documents, the cousin is listed as the head of the company, but really it's Kim Soo Hyun calling all the shots and directing everybody. And I know somebody who's even worked with him in his company, and she says that, like, dang, that company is just hard to work with. And, it's all because, the guy at the top is making everybody crazy, but when he comes out, he looks all nice. And this was, show me this before all of this happened. And just because you have mean staff at your company and you're not be a good boss doesn't mean you necessarily did all these things that he's being accused of. But essentially, this company, Gold Medalist, is Kim Soo Hyun's agency that he co-owns, and it started in 2019. And Kim Sae Ron said that she even helped set it up, and she felt resentful for that because she wasn't even paid for all of her work in setting up castings and basically, if you are like the partner or spouse of somebody setting up a business, usually you're kind of like always there, you're always around, and you're always pitching in, you're always helping out, and that kind of stuff like really goes uncalculated, once something happens, especially if you're not married and, you can't like, count that or factor that into some sort of divorce settlement. It stings. It stings. And so that's part of a sting that I think a lot of people don't, really count or notice. But, I think that also adds to the feeling of betrayal, especially when in 2024, March, she got a certified letter demanding repayment of 700 million won. So she was with the agency when she had her drunk driving incident, and then essentially she didn't get renewed soon after that. And the understanding was that she would have time, kind of an open-ended time frame to repay the amount of money. Originally, it wasn't even only 700 million won. It was about like 1.1 million. Let's just call it $700,000 just to the easy sleazy currency exchange. So $1.1 million, but then she had sold her car, she sold her stock investments, and then they negotiated that the amount that she owes the company was about $700,000, and that's what they were, that was some money that they had to pay back for contract terminations for projects and advertisements that weren't able to go through because they didn't like her image anymore because of the DUI. And then also paying back a lot of the store owners for their losses of business because she, crashed into that transformer and cut the power for like a morning. So Dispatch did a very comprehensive report, and they essentially say they were very confident in what they're saying is because they cross-referenced with industry contacts that they have, that this was a whole open secret of this relationship, and what they're reporting, they are saying is true. We have to go with them a little bit on trust and their editorial reputation because they don't have the quoted people that they didn't name the people that they say are their trusted cross-reference sources. But here's what they said about the money. In March 2024, Gold Medalist sent this letter to Kim Sae Ron demanding debt repayment. And they said, you entered into a loan agreement to borrow about $700,000 from the client on November 22nd, 2022, and repay it by the end of 2023. However, you have not repaid the above loan debt, even though it is due. If the full amount of the loan is not paid within a short period of time, we will take civil and criminal legal action. So this is very shocking. This is very stressful. and it didn't align with her understanding of how this is gonna work out with her repayment of this debt. It looked like I was saying in the last video, like, she could have done a cut and run or something, or done something else to really try to wiggle out of it. But it looked like she really, really, really wanted to pay this loan off herself. Apparently, there are reports that Won Bin, her co-star in The Man from Nowhere, had even offered to pay it off, but both of them denied it. The agency, and also she didn't want that to happen. And then so about 5 days later, because we now see the text messages from the Garosero Research Institute's coverage, that she tried to contact Kim Soo Hyun, be like, what is going on with this? And when she was ghosted, that's when she quickly posted that cheek-to-cheek picture with Kim Soo Hyun. So obviously that was a cry for help. Maybe it had a little, touch of coercion in there too, but she really needed to talk to Kim Soo Hyun, because it seems like Kim Soo Hyun and her made that agreement. Whether it was Kim Soo Hyun's money or not, the Kim Soo Hyun side is trying to say like, well, it was never his money. It was so that's why he's not even involved. Yes, that may be true. Could also be a lie. Could have been his money, but we'll see in the forensics. But what they're ignoring is that the agreement, the verbal agreement, was with her and Kim Soo Hyun, it appears, from her text message, because she's talking to him again, even after they're broken up, being like, hey, what's going on? So this is what her text message to Kim Soo Hyun said, and the Garosero Research Institute confirmed that it is his number, because they probably have access to somebody who has his actual number. And it said, "Oppa, it's Saeron. I got a certified mail. If you ask for 700 million right away, I really can't do it. Do we really have to go to court? Please save me. Give me some time." So from her understanding at this point, March 2024, it seemed like, she feels like she has to pay it off. The story from the Kim Soo Hyun side, we'll start just sprinkling in some of the latest statement that Kim Soo Hyun said, was saying that like, oh, we just had to go through this process and send her a certified letter, because if we didn't try to formally, legally, and leave a paper trail of trying to collect this money, it could be seen as, breach of duty, like embezzlement, or, basically getting the company in trouble. So we had to go through this process of trying to collect this money legally. But it was very clear, to her, like she knew that she didn't have to pay it off. Doesn't seem like that in this type of situation. And more specific lines that were really sad in her text message said, "I plan to gradually pay back a percentage from each project I take on. I've been working hard to prepare my comeback. You said you would give me plenty of time. I'm not saying I won't pay the money back, but if you ask me for 700 million Korean won right now, I just physically can't. Do we have to resort to a lawsuit? Please save me. I'm begging you. Please give me some time." It was really sad, yes, desperate, pleading type of text message. Now, this is where it gets a bit shady for Kim Soo Hyun's side. When this happened last year, March 2024, after she got this scary letter threatening legal action if she doesn't pay right away 700 million won, she uploaded that photo on Instagram, and then obviously reporters were asking the agency, what's going on? Are they dated? And then the agency says that at the time, a year ago, we would like to inform you that the current dating rumors about Kim Soo Hyun are groundless. It appears that the photos were taken when they were under the same agency in the past, and we have no idea what Kim Sae Ron's intentions were behind this behavior. So this was very kind of clever legalese where they're basically denying that they ever dated. Although it seems a little bit like, you can leave an out because you can leave it to like, well, the executive said this and he had no idea that they were dating. It seemed like it had a built-in kind of escape clause. But essentially to the public, what it sounded like and what it does say is that they didn't date. And then now, after all this stuff is coming out, the agency is saying, yes, they did date, but very briefly and only when she was an adult. But nevertheless, last year until now, like people were mocking her, the netizens, for having this like Delulu relationship in her head about a fantasy, relationship with Kim Soo Hyun. And now we see that they had a very real, and potentially very inappropriate relationship. And just to reiterate, the agency did not cover everything when it came to compensating for damages regarding the drunk driving incident. Kim Sae-ron used the profits that she had through, it looks like some sort of stock sharing program that she was involved in and, had some money in. She sold that off. She sold off her car, and it was about 200 million won that she was able to pour in. She just poured in everything that she could to try to atone for what she did. So it wasn't as if like the company covered everything and she didn't do anything, and then she's saying like, oh, give me more time to pay. She literally gave everything she had, and then there was still some left over, and she had to work out a payment plan, and which she thought was in place. But then suddenly she got that scary message. Dispatch even went to her old residence and talked to some of the other people who lived there, and a lot of them didn't even know she was an actress, but they said that she would cry a lot in the hallway. Sometimes they would try to comfort her, and they even saw, like evidence that she may have had a difficult life, and they thought that she just came up to Seoul to live with her sister. Now, Dispatch ends this by saying that they did confirm that there is a relationship between the two through several channels, and it's closer to fact than fiction. And a close acquaintance, they say, the close acquaintance of Kim Soo Hyun, they say, Dispatch says, Kim Sae-ron's age is an issue, so that's why they can never admit to their relationship. They also said them meeting up was an open secret in the entertainment industry. So, okay, other people in the entertainment industry, we need you to come forward and speak up. But do you think that's going to happen? But because they weren't able to acknowledge this relationship, Kim Sae-ron, started to be, like deemed as like crazy as like having a relationship with herself.